Hey everybody, Pete from Rebel Health here. Just want to talk briefly about how we can personally fight the COVID virus, um, personally with every meal, with every movement, with every breath we take every day. There's a lot more we can do about this than we think. Now, what do I mean by that? It just came out recently that 94% of the deaths in the US, the people who have died, had a chronic disease of some sort. What chronic disease? Diabetes, cardiovascular disease, obesity, chronic lung issues, hypertension. 94%, that's an incredibly high number. In New York, where we've had the most deaths in the country by far for any one state, almost all of the deaths um, people had a chronic disease, and 88% had more than one, had two or more. Now, what does that tell us? It tells us an awful lot. Yes, this is a contagious virus. Yes, it kills, and of course, and it's something to be taken seriously. But we want to bring back what we've been talking about here at Rebel Health for years, and that is the power of our own body and the importance of our own immune system. And yes, there's a lot of fear out there. Nobody wants to get this. Even if you get it and don't die, it's not a pleasant thing, depending on the extent of symptoms and the types of symptoms you get, of course. And even if you are extremely healthy, you can still get it. You can become symptomatic, but a strong body, a strong immune system will fight it, will keep the symptoms, for the most part, to a more manageable level and help with recovery. So that's what we want to talk about. What can we be doing now? A lot of us have been locked down, and some of us have been trying to do as much as we can to build our health, and maybe some of us haven't. But we want to point out, and we're going to give you some specifics, and they're all very basic, and they're all things that we've been talking about here, like I said, for years. Letting our body and getting out of the way to let the body heal itself. These viruses are going to be around. They've been around. The flu is a virus. It comes every year. And we try to guess the strain and come up with a flu vaccine, and sometimes it works somewhat okay, and sometimes it doesn't work that okay, but rarely does it even work better than 40%. Sometimes it's low as 20% or lower. And we've known about the flu and had it around forever. And there's actually a lot of modeling and guesswork that goes into creating the vaccine. So if we're in the camp where we're praying and hoping for a vaccine for COVID, the flu vaccine, if that's any indication, I don't really know what we're waiting for, or if we really believe that this is going to be the magic vaccine that's going to eradicate COVID. It's very unlikely, and probably will not be the case. We've had, like I said, influenza and all of its various strains around for decades. We've had swine flu, bird flu, the H1N1. We've had MERS, we've had SARS, we've had Ebola, we've had HIV. Viruses are, let's face it, they're a part of our lives, and depending on where we live and how often they come up, they will be with us. They will be back, especially given the mistreatment and the way we raise animals. I mean, all of these viruses are coming all of them come from some kind of animal, and ultimately gets into our bodies. How does that happen? Not from the petting zoo, that's for sure. But that's a whole nother topic. So my point is, getting healthy now by doing the simple things that we're going to talk about quickly will help us if in fact we do become symptomatic with COVID, and will help us in the future. And if viruses go away forever, great. Guess what? We'll have a great healthy life. We'll have a vehicle to enjoy life, a lean, vibrant, crystal clear thinking and processing speed in our minds and whatnot, just by cleaning out and immediately starting some of the things I'm going to talk about. So starting with building the immune system, what's the first thing we can do to do that is to eliminate processed foods. Most of the foods that we're eating and most of the foods in the supermarket outside of the produce section are processed, and they're almost all processed to do what? To increase shelf life, or to better the taste or the texture. These are not natural processes. Invariably, in all of them, any nutrients that were in the original ingredients are stripped out, and therein is the underlier of most of the chronic disease that we're experiencing. It's in the food. The processed meats are a disaster, and a lot of the meat we're eating. This isn't the meat that our great grandparents ate with the antibiotics and the growth hormones and the sodium and the nitrates and the dyes. This is awful. This is what we're getting. in the meats that we're eating. These animals are fed GMO grains. Those grains have been sprayed with herbicides, and the plants have been grown to resist. They're modified. The seeds have been modified to resist these herbicides. So there's a residue that ends up in the feed to the animals and into a lot of the grains and sugars that we're eating in the processed foods that again is lining the supermarket. It's a disaster to our immune system, to the gut bacteria, the microbiome that exists in our gut. That is essential. It's our first line of defense, and it's essential. It's where our immune system is housed. We need to clean up our diets first and foremost as quickly as we can. Our bodies will heal as quickly as we want them to, or as quickly as we're willing to do. Make the changes. This isn't a time for moderation. Moderation is a cop-out. This is a time for serious cleansing if we want to avoid the damaging impacts that these viruses can and will have on our bodies, and especially as they mutate, they become more contagious. We need a strong body. We can't rely on big pharma and a vaccine. It's just not feasible. So adding in whole foods, adding in foods in their proper form designed by nature. What am I talking about? Obviously, I'm talking about fruits and vegetables, nuts, seeds, sprouts, whole grains, legumes, beans and peas, packed with protein, packed with fiber, way healthier plant-based than the protein you're getting in the meats. And like I said, you're getting all that other garbage with the meats. This is first and foremost going to start cleaning our bodies. Our bodies will heal incredibly quickly. You'd be amazed. You will be amazed if you try this. Again, as much as we can, as quickly as we can, eliminating the processed foods. They've just got to go. They are tearing us down day by day, literally, from when we're in our early ages too. Even though the chronic diseases don't show themselves until later in life, but I will point out that they are showing earlier and earlier. We're seeing more and more childhood obesity and diabetes every day because of these processed foods, these refined sugars, these processed meats. They are a killer. There's no doubt about it. And eliminating them, and if that's the only thing we did, would dramatically increase our health incredibly quickly. What else could we do? Every breath we take. What is COVID attacking? It's attacking our lungs. How incredibly important are our lungs for taking in oxygen and delivering it through the blood to all of the organs of the body, right? It's said that the 80% of the oxygen absorbed by the blood is absorbed by the bottom 20% of our lungs, and most of us don't breathe that deeply. So immediately, and this is something we can do every hour, anywhere we want, is to practice breathing deeply through our nose and filling up our bellies with air, really breathing in deep, just doing that a few times every hour, building up lung strength. We can do that in the car. You can do that while you're listening to me right now. You can do it anywhere. Moving our bodies also will help lung capacity. Cardio, walking briskly, walking period, jogging, cycling, any kind of cardio is going to increase our heart strength, which our heart is a muscle, and it's going to increase our lung capacity. It's also going to help create endorphins in times like this when we tend to be down and depressed because we're restricted, whatnot. Exercise will help in that way too. It'll help in the breathing. It'll help in our mood. So staying home doesn't mean stay inside. Like, get out in the neighborhood, walk around. If you can go to the parks here in my town, the parks are closed, which to me is insane. Get out in the parks, get the sun, get that vitamin D. Take a friend if you're comfortable with that, and whatever precautions you personally feel comfortable with, and get social and do that as much as you can. We don't have to stay at home and watch Netflix all day. It's not healthy. Staying hydrated with good clean water throughout the day. Very, very important, incredibly important for health, especially if we're going to eliminate these processed foods. Guess what? We've got a lot of those toxins from prior processed foods in our guts, in our cells, fats and stuff that are going to start to get eliminated by the body first and foremost. That water will help carry that out. Sleep, we need to get better sleep, 8 hours if possible, or even a little more if we can, especially in these trying times. A lot of us are sleep deprived. A lot of us have sleep apnea. We need sleeping aids, allowing our bodies to just rest, turning off the TVs, managing our stress levels with meditation, with warm baths, with quiet time, so that we can get better sleep. The exercise will help with that. The fresh air will help with that. The sun will help with that. This all becomes a self-fulfilling positive cycle of activity when we start to do these things. And again, I can go on and on about each topic, and probably will in the future when all the dust settles and we can really set up a plan together to build us up. Shutting off the media. Facebook is crazy. Like, look, the technology is wonderful, right? It affords us so many luxuries and the ease of information, but it could also work against us. Everybody's emotionally charged. We've got to step away. There's all sorts of articles. Yes, we need to balance things out. We need to be open-minded with what we knew in the beginning and what we know now, and where we need to be going forward, factoring everything in. But to get emotionally charged, there's a lot of anxiety, there's a lot of anger, there's a lot of fear, and like I said, emotional upcharge. This anxiety and depression suppresses our immune system. So we can counteract a lot of the other good things we're doing if we're spending our free time on Facebook yelling at people and whatever and whatnot. But I get it. It's a crazy time, but we have to try to manage that because we don't have the ability to make all the big changes we each might want to make right now, as far as externally and in the world. But that's why we need to bring it back home, bring it inside, make the changes that we can make, the things we can control, which is what we put in our mouth and how we treat our bodies, and get it to optimal health quickly. And it will happen quickly, and it can happen quickly. We just have to devote ourselves to it. And guess what? You might still get a virus, but you won't be in the, in the whatever percentage of deaths that we have right now. It's very low, but still, like you might get it, you might get the symptoms, you might not get the symptoms, you'll battle it, you'll come through it. You will come through it. The body has been made to handle these viruses. There you go. Like, because most people who are healthy with no chronic disease or whatnot aren't dying from this. So it's very important. And lastly, I want to say stay socially connected as best you can. The good part, one of the positives of technology, we have FaceTime, we have Zoom. We can pick up the phone old-fashioned way. We can, walk with family members who we live with. We can get outside. We can play games. We can do stuff. Stay socially connected. This isolation is awful for us. We are meant to be social. There are people who suffer from all sorts of addiction and alcoholism and whatnot, and social isolation is the last thing they need. And many other people who suffer from mental illness of all kinds. We need to be socially connected. And even us, people who don't suffer from any of those things, we need to be socially connected. We need that. We need to laugh. We need to talk. We need to share. We need each other. We do. And let's try as much as we can all of those things. Notice none of that costs any money. We can start doing that immediately right now, all of it. So think about it. How bad do you want to be healthy? That takes away a lot of fear. It takes away a lot of the fear of this when we are healthy, when we're lean, when we're sharp, when we're healthy. So hope that helps. I hope everybody's doing well. We are going to come out of this. The time is now, and it's never, ever too late to do any of these things and to improve our health dramatically. All right. Good night, guys.